Hello ladies and gentlemen, Panzer here, and today we're taking a look at Ziggurat. Now this is not a new game. This video is actually coming out really late, and that I apologize, I didn't get around to doing it when it first came out, but I've been playing a lot of it recently, and it is just one of the most enjoyable games that you can play if you're into first-person shooters, actually. For short spaces of time. For example, if you only have a minute or two to play something, this is probably your best option. So what is it? It's a roguelike game, but with a first-person shooter setting. Now, the thing is, it's in a fantasy setting as well, so you're playing as a form of mage, and you are attacking each level of a dungeon known as the Ziggurat, and each level has a boss that you have to fight, and then you move on to the next one, and you continue going on until you complete the entire thing. Or you die, which happens quite a lot. So I'm going to just start here, and we're going to go to a new game. Now, before I begin, I want to actually just talk about the settings just a little bit, because there are a few things that you definitely need to change. Firstly, field of view goes all the way up to 100 actually. I like to have mine at 90, and you can have it to change your field of view during sprinting. Probably not a good idea to have that. You can turn view bobbing off, you can have game tips, you can highlight enemies, and so on and so forth. Now, highlighting enemies is just a little feature to help you find the enemies in each room when there's not that many of them left, or they're behind something. It's very useful. Okay, so we're gonna save those, and graphics options, there's not really much to look at. In fact, it's a very bare kind of graphics options, but for the most part, you don't really need to worry about that so much. Alright, we're going to start a new game, and we're going to use Kraz, the novice. Now, there are a bunch of characters you can choose from. So, the default character is just completely balanced, and it's a great way of learning how to play the game. And they all have different stat changes. For example, the novice has a more powerful wand. Now, the wand is the default weapon, which has unlimited mana. It regenerates over time, but everything else, there are 3 other magic disciplines that use different sorts of mana pools, and this character actually has less of them. The Harlequin is kind of a dodging character. He's very, very fast, but he's not very, very good at attacking, or at least it's very difficult to use it to attack. And there's a lot of characters to unlock. And all of these are not just, oh, play this number of times or so on. It's, you've got things to do. Yes, that you're not reading that wrongly, that does actually say carrots. So I have to kill one more carrot and I'll unlock this one. So, there's a lot of characters to choose from. And there's quite a decent amount of enemy variety. I'm just going to quickly show you this. We can just head over to the bestiary, I think that's how you say that. And so long as I've killed a decent amount of them, we should be able to see some of them. So this is Queen Amanda, this is one of the bosses, and this is King Blob, is also one of the bosses. Now, most of the bosses I've noticed are, or rather I should say, level guardians, or portal guardians, are kind of variations of the standard mobs, which is, I suppose it's okay, but it does make it look a little bit boring sometimes. Sometimes, at least. It's nice that they have a little touch to them, like King Blob actually has a crown, for example, but he's not that much different to the standard slime, if I can find one. No, I can't. There we go. So, he doesn't look that different to the slime. In fact, he has the same sort of animations. But there are a lot of enemy types. There's skeletons, there's banshees, there's kobolds in armor, and there's actually very nice reflections going on that armor. Makes him look like a plastic toy. And basilisks and so on. And those are the carrots. As if you needed any more reason to hate eating vegetables. There's killer carrots. And this is some sort of throwback to the Doom series, I think. The Lost Souls kind of look like that. And if it's not, then, well, it kind of reminds me of that, so it's quite nice. Alright, let's get into the game. And let's see what's what. So, gonna use the Novice. And here we go. So each level is made up of a series of rooms with interconnecting corridors, and it's all randomly generated. Now, at the beginning of each level, you are given a weapon to pick up. these can be out of one of the other 3 magic disciplines. So this is a staff weapon. So as we pick that up, you can see we've got 4 weapon slots there. And this is our basic one. So our basic one just does this. Now this is the novice, so the wand actually fires a little bit faster. I don't think it does more damage, but it fires faster and we have more mana available to it. And every weapon has an alternative attack. So the staff fires in a broad arc like that, and its alternate attack is just a much wider arc. But you'll notice this regenerates and this doesn't, so something to bear in mind. Alright, now you might notice we are moving quite fast, and that is actually a similar thing to a lot of old school first-person shooters, is that they moved very fast. Alright, we've got a bunch of basilisks and some banshees here. So we're going to try and clear all this out before we can move on. Alright, just give a moment. Oops, got stuck there. Now we do have a sprint ability, and that'll allow us to sprint, as you might expect. That allows us to move very fast. And you'll notice I'm moving a lot, and that's one of the things about this game. You can't stay still. Now, the AI is not particularly intelligent. They do get stuck in some places, especially in the maze maps, although they don't seem to be having much problems on this map because it is quite open. Now, you'll notice the highlight feature going on there. So it sort of has a little pulse effect and highlights them if they're behind something. It's just a useful feature for seeing what enemies are left in a room. Alright, those things that I'm picking up now, these little yellow gems, are actually knowledge gems. And what they do is they grant you experience. There is level progression in this game. Your character levels up throughout the course of this one particular run. So you always start from level 1, and you always will level up as you progress. Now, this is a blessing room. So, as you can see, we can make some offerings. This is an offering that doesn't require anything. This requires mana, and this requires health. So we're going to go this one. Infinite mana until hits. So if we can dodge enough, then we have infinite mana. It's quite useful. Alright, let's take a risk and offer some health as well. So we've just been given increased use for our staff. Or rather, increased mana pool, but our usage of it has been increased as well. So, not particularly useful. It is one of those RNG things in roguelikes where it just sort of can screw you over. In fact, it can actually literally screw you over by giving you less health. For example, they can curse you too. Alright, this is one of the puzzle rooms, or trap rooms, where we have to make it across to that side, and there's a bit of a jumping puzzle. Oh. I almost got killed there. But there is a reward at the end, so it might be worthwhile going for. Oh. So we got killed. Not particularly useful there. But I just want to talk about the, yeah, we have unlocked some new cards. These are items that you can pick up throughout the game. So, throughout the course of a dungeon, you can actually pick up more things. Alright, so we're going to do a second run here, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about the level progression. So, you don't gain any stats, which is interesting. It doesn't seem to affect anything much at all, but it allows you to pick a perk. And these perks can be made of many things. For example, it can give you increased mana pools or increased health and so on and so forth. Alright, so this is one of the alchemy weapons. It's a fireweaver bomb, and I've noticed the alchemy weapons seem to be sort of mechanical in nature, which is quite nice. So it is a sort of grenade. I'm assuming it does fire damage. And elemental damage is kind of important. Oh, that throws really far. The one thing that's really important about this game, and it actually is a throwback to a lot of FPS games in the past, is that you have to really know the weapons very well to know what sort of their abilities are, well, what their abilities are and so on. Like, for example, not all bombs fly as fast or as far as the one I'm using right now. At the same time, knowing how much mana they use per use, or even how much damage they do and what sort of damage they do. Now, all the enemies are actually decently varied as well. They do behave very differently. These basilisks that we were fighting earlier lunge at you, but they also spit poison, and that kind of contaminates the ground for a little while and prevents you from going across it without taking damage. So, quite a nasty little thing. But then, of course, you can jump over it, and that's one thing that you can actually make quite a lot of use of. Alright, so up there is a portal key, and that's how we unlock the, we summon the boss of the level and then get to the next level. So, a little bit of a jumping puzzle. Now, there are secret rooms as well, so you want to check every single room. Certain walls can be broken down, and then there will be a secret room inside, with some sort of reward. Or, knowing this game, it could be something that screws you over too, who knows. Alright, killer carrots! Now, these things are quite nasty. They are very fast and very small, so they are very difficult to hit. And they have a tendency to backspawn you, as they did earlier. They spawned directly behind me. So they are quite nasty little buggers, but they are melee only, so you can avoid getting hit by moving around a lot. Alright, so we have an upgrade. This is the reward for leveling up, so we can increase our staff mana pool or increase our health limit. I think we're going to go with health in this case. It doesn't give us the health, but it increases the maximum health. Alright, just a quick check of the map. We've still got a lot more to explore. That's the boss room in there, incidentally. So we're going to just have a look around the map, and then we'll move on. But if I was to describe this game, it would be kind of a very nice combination of old school FPS games and the sort of roguelike setting. Alright, we've got another blessing room here, so we're going to go with the no offering. Alright, so health obtained in drops is increased. That means health potions are going to be more valuable to us. We don't have enough of that mana. That actually is the same color as the mana it requires, so the staff mana is green. So if it was blue, I'd be able to make an offering, but otherwise, no. Alright, so that's the 2 offerings we've made, which might help us, although we have less health now, so... I'm actually moving very, 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 very fast. Momentum does play a part as well. If you go at very high speed up a slope, for example, you do sort of carry yourself a little bit further. That's just something I've noticed. So your jumping distance does increase, which is quite nice. Okay, and that's one of the random effects that we're seeing right there at the top, is enemies are explosive. And there's a lot of different variations of these rooms as well. There are some that increase or decrease damage or mana usage. Some even just make the map very dark, which I encountered the last run, and it's not very pleasant, I will say, to have to fight in the dark, but that's one of the effects as well. Alright, so that's a dead-end room there. So we've got one more place to go, and then we can go and fight the boss. And I can talk a little bit more about boss battles. Now, one thing to note as well, that the different characters that you can choose also have some very slight differences to them. For example, the voices are different. The wands they use are slightly different. Whoa. Did not even notice that there. So, of course, these puzzle rooms are designed in a very similar way to, again, old-school FPS games. Games like Quake, for example, had these sorts of puzzle rooms where there were just traps and you had to navigate your way through. So it wasn't always just fighting enemies. And from what I can see is it seemed more like the developers were trying to create an old school FPS, but without the sort of time investment required to complete the game. but at the same time have a lot of replayability. The problem with a lot of old school FPSs was that once you know the way to clear it, you can speedrun it, essentially. It wasn't any less enjoyable, sure, but the value of completing it for the first time, the satisfaction, just isn't there anymore. And that's something that roguelikes seem to be able to recreate every play. That as much as you can try and learn the game, it changes every time, and then you need to sort of relearn things from time to time. Or at least that's my experience with it. So I see this as a very useful setting. Alright, so we've got an upgrade here. This would be kind of useful. Double damage from enemies, though, but triple the experience, so we do level up a lot faster. Or we can increase our health limit again. 130 health is quite a lot, though, so I think we're going to go with that one. It's a risk, but then again, the reward might be worthwhile. Alright, one more room to go through, and we've just been completely smashed by all those traps. I thought I would be fast enough to get through that. It turns out, nope. Okay. So we might die again. Before I get to show you the boss battle. Let's hope not. I'm gonna try and put all of my FPS knowledge to use, which sadly is quite limited. Although I will say that the wand abilities of this character are very, very useful. Alright, we can level up again. Alright, let's go. And are we there yet? Wait, where am I going? Okay, so I might have had to cut out just a little bit over there. Because my neighbors have decided to start drilling. Whatever they're drilling, I have no idea. But if you happen to hear it in the next segment of the video, I do apologize, but there's not much I can really do about it, unfortunately. So, here we go. Let's see which boss we get. Now, each boss is randomly chosen. So in this case, we have Sir Arthur, who is basically a giant lost soul. And, we don't have a lot of health. But we can set him on fire. So long as we avoid taking too many hits, we might be okay. And we died. But that is the nature of the game. And unfortunately, because we entered that boss room with not much health to begin with, it seems like that wasn't going to be in our favor anyway. So that's kind of an expected ending. But I think this should give you a pretty clear idea of what a Ziggurat is all about. It is the sort of game that... And I've unlocked a character, I believe. So we can have a look at that. Just kind of have a look at this new character that I've got. Low initial stats, but learns a lot faster. So I believe he probably has a boon to leveling up or something. But yeah, so the game has a lot of replayability, as these sorts of games do. But the whole styling of it, like I like the art style a lot, but more than that, it plays so much like games like Quake and even Doom. So much so that I'd say it's a fair way of paying tribute to those types of games, because you do play it a lot like that. It by no means kind of lives up to the same sort of reputation those games had, but at least you can kind of make use of, I suppose, the old skills, if you will, from those eras. And the enemy variety is definitely very refreshing. But there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. This has been Panzer taking a look at Ziggurat. Now available on Steam for $15 or your regional equivalent. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.